Yo! What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to a Monday edition of House Divided. I'm Jeff Ketchum, and that is Chad Hastings. And no, he is not a miniature human being, and I'm not a giant. It just looks that way on the screen. There you go. You're back in. Can you hold that pose?
No.
No? Okay. Before the words can even come out of my mouth. Guys, glad to be with you on this Monday. Do us a solid. Slam that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Get notifications. And thanks to everybody in the Specs chat this morning. We love you guys. I see our guy Richard from Rogue Shop in the house. Good afternoon to you, Richard, although maybe it's Shar. Maybe I shouldn't just assume that it's Richard. Either way, glad to have Rogue Shop with us. Glad to have Uncle Mickey with us. Glad to have Alan with us. Come on in. The water's warm. We won't bite you too hard. And we're going to have a fun show planned for you. Lots of Texas football to get into. Longhorns held a practice earlier today. Still waiting to get my notes in, Chad, on how things went down in practice. But there's certainly a lot of things to get into on the Texas football side of things, given that they're almost at the midway point in practice. And it felt like today's show is a good time to have a Colin Simmons discussion. There is no freshman in the program this year that brings in a higher profile, more expectations, more buzz. And yet it's a freshman who's only a couple of months into his career, and you have to balance what we're seeing right now with where things that we expect to see later this spring and into the summer, going into the season. He's kind of this year's Anthony Hill, which means you'll probably see the coaching staff using him in a lot of different ways this season as he kind of gets his feet wet being a college football player.
Folks jumping in the chat here, trying to figure out if there's practice or not practice or whatever. Also, just a reminder that today is April 1st on the calendar. So what you see and what you hear, who knows? Ketchum and I myself are not big April Fool's people, but just know that it is April 1st all day today. But as far as we know, there was a Texas practice, and hopefully there'll be some notes for that to look at. So Ketch, in terms of Colin Simmons, where does the discussion begin for you? Like you said, they're almost halfway through the 15 practices, right? It's 5 practices after the weekend.
I think that's right, because they went Tuesday, Thursday, and then there were 3 last week. So I think we're at 5. You get to the midway point of the calendar, and I start to lose track. We've got this week. We've essentially got 3 weeks of workouts, or less than 3 weeks of workouts left before things come to an end.
So in terms of, Colin strikes me as the type of guy, like we've talked about, where sometimes you guys are going after practice reports on, you have questions about certain guys. But to me, he'd probably be a guy you don't have a lot of questions about in terms of, well, is he good? Is he going to be really good? Does he fit in somewhere? I think my assumption would be he fits in somewhere. We just need to figure out where. So after 5 practices or so, what is it you're hearing about how he's fitting in and how he's measuring up to what Colin Simmons is supposed to be?
It's interesting because the comparison that's most often made is to Trey Moore, because both of them are new. Both of them play the same position. And I think the initial buzz right now through the first third of practice is that he's just not quite yet on Trey Moore's level. And that shouldn't be a massive surprise. One guy's getting ready to enter his 4th season as a college football player, albeit at a higher level than we've seen or he's seen so far in his career. And the other guy's been on campus for 2 months. So the conversation of Colin Simmons, I think, is he's still acclimating to his surroundings. He's flashing, but he's not yet, I think, the player that the coaches probably think he'll be in 5 more practices. or later in the summer or end of the year. I think he is a constantly evolving specimen of a football player, but he's not ready-made to dominate the college football scene 5 practices into his career. Whereas when you do look at Trey Moore, there is a sense there's been a lot of discussion behind the scenes. Everybody I've talked to, and everybody, by the way, hold on a second while Anwar's sending me a note.
Yes.
Like, there wasn't a practice today, so confusion on our side. They will pick up practice tomorrow, so no need for much practice notes.
Okay, so I guess this chat might be correct. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday this week. Okay, there you go.
Help, maybe. God, you know what the thing is? We did a show at 9:00, and then I've been in meetings since then. Maybe I missed the email. Did I not get the memo? What happened on the memo scene?
Ben, thank you, Ben. We appreciate it. We will take those chats as the truth and not some crazy April 1st thing. So there you go.
I'm trying to even remember now who in the hell told me there was a practice on a Monday. It was somebody on the staff. I just don't know who it was. Like, the hours and the minutes and the days blend in together. Good. That's one last thing I've got to worry about today on a Monday. Although I'm pretty sure Alex was convinced at one point that there was a practice. I just can't remember. Did that come from somebody at the school? Was somebody just mistaken? Clearly not exactly sure how it happened. Nevertheless, we continue the Colin Simmons discussion. There's probably less buzz with Simmons than I would have thought there would be, Chad. But I think, again, a lot of this is him running up against the sensation that might be Trey Moore. And every day that there's a practice that goes by, Moore continues to be a guy that looks almost like he's nailed on as a starter, even if he is a new player. And they've moved him around. He's playing a little bit of Sam linebacker. He's playing that edge position. He's a versatile guy. I know that we had in the war room, there had been a point mentioned that on one of the reps last week, he converts from bull rush, does a spin move, and converts that into a speed rush. That's kind of high level advanced pass rush stuff that we haven't really seen a lot around the 40 acres over the course of the last decade or so. That wasn't, not even a guy like Joseph Asai was doing those types of things. So for a guy that comes with a big pass rush reputation, he's been blooming through the first 5 days. And I think Colin Simmons is still getting his feet wet. I wouldn't suggest that there's any reason for panic, but through the first 5 practices, the initial, I think, review of Simmons wouldn't be, oh, he's going to tear it up so far this year. We're still in the evolution of him as a player, and I don't know that we would say that the light switch has fully flipped on.
Interesting. House divided on this Monday. Thank you for everybody jumping in on the chats. If you want to throw us a super chat, you can certainly do that. Also, thanks to all of our great partners here at Orange Bloods Live, including the good folks at AV Consultations. This weekend, I was in a situation where I'm in a room that has a bigger TV than I have, and I had a little TV jealousy. It happens. In fact, we were in town for a 1-year-old's birthday party, and they were showing the 1-year-old his now favorite TV shows. And I realized this kid's watching TV on a 75-inch TV and I don't have one. So if you have that kind of jealousy, AV Consultations can help you. They've been doing it since 1988, locally owned and operated. They'll also make sure that if you want to upgrade that TV or get more screens or whatever it is, it will be done safely in case you have a 1-year-old in the house. So people aren't grabbing on cords and the kids aren't putting themselves in danger or obviously putting the stuff or anybody else in danger. AV Consultations can make all those dreams come true. So as the tournament's rounding out, make sure next year for the tournament, you have every cool bit of setup that you've always wanted. 255-8678 or avconsultations.com.
Chad, you tell yourself that size doesn't matter, right? And then you go to a 1-year-old's birthday party, and then then you're reminded like, oh man, Bluey on 75 inches just hits the spot differently.
Yeah, I looked up and I had to ask, how big is that TV? And I heard the answer. And my man even got the tape measure out to really make me feel bad. Yeah, it's 75. Like, damn, that's a nice looking television.
Hey, we got our first super chat of the day, of the week, as a matter of fact.
There we go.
Where you been, says Catcher, usually the guy who rings the alarm. Am I an alarm ringer? Since you have it about DT, has me thinking you know something. Blink twice if I'm on to something. As it relates to the defensive tackle position, I think I'm kind of ringing the alarm there, and have been, that it's a weakness on this team, if there is one. It has gone from 2 All-America level players to the first 2 guys on the field right now are guys that day in and day out haven't yet consistently proven to be truly plus players. So I think there's a depth issue there. I think they'd like to address it in the portal. I feel like, Chad, you tell me, I feel like we've talked about defensive tackle. In fact, on Friday when we did the show, Thursday, excuse me. We all took a 3-day weekend on Friday. Not all of us, but Chad and I did. On Thursday, yeah, volleyball clap for us for having 3 days.
Volleyball clap for the boss on that one.
I believe when we talked about players that needed to step up, there was a special section of Vernon Broughton got mentioned, but that entire position was kind of discussed in the vein of, look, the coaches are evaluating, and if you don't rise up in the next 10 practices, you might find yourself in a position where they go get somebody who they can stop asking, will you step up? So I don't know. I'm somewhere between, it's not like a 5-alarm fire, but yeah, no, I don't think that we haven't talked about defensive tackle where you've been, or that there aren't concerns there, because I think there's been constant conversation actually about that position. I think linebacker depth is another. If you want to know where I'm letting off like very small ringing of alarms right now, it's probably on defense up front in the middle. The spine of the defense, I think there's a feeling that safety is going to be improved. But beyond Anthony Hill at linebacker and kind of the whole defensive tackle position in general, yeah, I think there's some baby alarm bells at a minimum.
Ben throws in on the chat as well, and thank you, where you been. And Ben added, thought it was known they were going to get another player in the portal. Catch, there was plenty of discussion when the whole Michigan thing went down with Harbaugh about their D tackles. Are they on the move and all that kind of stuff? We do have that window coming. We're now into April. So what are we? We're literally 2 weeks away, right? It's the 15th, I think, when it opens up. So 2 weeks away from the portal opening up, the spring version of it. Maybe that's something to look for. But in my mind, Catch, it's almost the opposite. We've discussed it, I hope we have, with D tackle versus D end. D tackle feels like a position of, you want to find where your badass talent is and how it can fit in. D end feels like you've got a lot of badass talent, maybe not too much, but you've got enough that you're going to need to figure out how it all works. And that, of course, is where Colin Simmons fits in. But that's not what D tackle feels like. And Ben and others, that's what we've talked about it. And I'd even, look, we've thrown Collins into that discussion. Collins and Broughton need to both be badasses.
Yeah, I think Collins is the guy everybody feels the best about, because he very quietly, his biggest sin last year was that he wasn't Tavondre Sweat or Byron Murphy. And so those two guys came off the field, and you felt that because those guys were such impact players. Collins was solid, but, what the void that's left is beyond solid. It was the makeup and backbone and strength of your team a year ago. Texas finished third in the country against the rush last year. And a lot of that was the play of those interior players. I think Vernon Broughton is technically a starter right now, but boy, if we were to rank top 5 current starters on the Texas football team that you're slightly nervous about, he might be number 1 on that list. I mean, I hate to put guys on blast, but you're probably talking he and Hayden Connor and maybe the wide receivers because they're so unproven, although I don't know that people are really stressed about that. But, maybe it's hard to even come up with a top 5. But if you were to do a top 3, I think both of those two guys are in there. I think what's really interesting, and Chad, I don't think you and I have had this discussion because if we think back to the last couple of weeks of the show, I took some administrative time 2 weeks ago. And then Monday, I showed up with the flu. And even though I fought through a couple of episodes, like I took Wednesday off, and I don't think we've had the Philip Bleedy conversation, but he is a defensive tackle from Indiana that entered the portal, and he's the guy that I was hinting about for weeks and really months that, and based on my understanding of the story, there was a lot of buzz kind of there when Bo Davis was still the defensive tackle coach for the Longhorns, that Bleedy behind the scenes felt like Texas might be a team that would have an interest. He officially enters the portal. LSU is offered. Oklahoma is offered. A number of big-time schools have offered. He'll be taking official visits. As a matter of fact, since I'm talking about it, I don't know that anything happened this weekend with him, but I'll double check. Like Bleedy is visiting Norman on the weekend of the Texas spring game. He's visiting LSU next week. Kansas State is offered. I'm kind of just flipping through. Auburn is offered. TCU is offered. North Carolina is offered. A&M is offered. As a matter of fact, I think he may be visiting A&M. Texas is not in that pile. So we haven't had the conversation, but I can officially confirm that it was Bleedy as the guy that I had been thinking since December might be a defensive tackle option through the portal for the Longhorns. Longhorns have not, as he officially entered the portal, and all these other schools that I've mentioned, and look, primarily, he's a Texas kid, right, who was originally at Texas Tech. OU, LSU, and A&M have all offered. Those are 3 of the 4 real regional powerhouses of, if we were going to talk about in the state of Texas, who are the top 4 recruiting prestige, however you would want to say it, it would be Texas, Texas A&M, OU, and LSU. Those are the big 4, I think, when we talk about the schools in this region. 3 of the 4 have offered. Texas has not. And yet we know that Texas has a need at defensive tackle. We know they want to go into the portal. To me, the lack of interest in Bleedy at this point makes me think they know somebody else might be out there. It makes me think that because these other schools aren't waiting. There just aren't enough natural resources available in the portal at the defensive tackle position. This is a guy who's a proven bona fide starter, nose tackle. And OU, LSU, and A&M are all like, we want some of that. Texas has not. It does make me wonder about the Michigan guys a little bit. And oh, by the way, their new defensive tackle coach just got busted for like a DUI charge. So what happens there? Does he keep his job? I don't know. Like I'm not on the Michigan beat, but I can read headlines when they appear on national websites.
Catch real quick. because when you're saying his name, it sounds like there's an L in there, and we got this chat. Clarify for me how you're spelling this. How to spell this kid's name if people are looking him up from Indiana.
It's Blidi.
Ah, okay. So it's this with an L in there. Blidi.
And look, I can't say for sure that I'm pronouncing it correctly because it's
okay.
Hey, it's me. But it is Blidi.
Gotcha. Okay. It's not
it
a
could
name.
Be Blighty. I've been saying Bleedy, but it could be Blighty, I suppose.
Yeah, it could be right. It could be Blitty. It could be interesting. But it is interesting, like you said, that those other three schools would be interested. And right now, Texas isn't showing as much interest. So somebody's just throwing in catch to see if you know what that next answer would be, who you think it is, catch that Texas may be looking at if they're not looking at it.
Paxton, it's not enough that I knew that Bleedy was entering the portal 3 months before he did. Now you want to know who the next guy is. The disappointing thing is that Texas isn't going after this cat, because then my knowledge would, Paxton thinks that somebody is on the radar. Could be.
Yeah.
I'll just say this, Paxton. There was a time in December and into early January when the Longhorns weren't going after the best wide receivers in the portal because they were thinking that A, Isaiah Bond, and B, potentially Barry and Brown of Kentucky would enter the portal. Neither did. Now, Bond ends up going into the portal only because Nick Saban retired. Otherwise, he'd be practicing with Alabama right now. And I think the entire conversation and scope of the wide receiver position at Texas would feel a little bit different. If there was no Isaiah Bond, we would be thinking that suddenly Silas Bolden's really important. And suddenly the pressure of like what Matthew Golden is doing in spring workouts would be imperative to kind of all of the conversations that we're having. I only bring this up because you can't always assume that Texas not making a move on a guy is a sign that they know that somebody else is going to enter the portal. They were slow on guys in the portal in December because they hoped that somebody better would enter. I think what the Blighty sign, I think what for me that means, I don't think they think he's the guy they want. I think he's a starting level player, but to be fair, if he were truly an NFL level player, like a guy that's a no doubt NFL guy, maybe he doesn't leave Indiana. Maybe he's already left Indiana and gone to the NFL. So he's somewhere between serviceable and like a standout, but maybe not close enough to the standout that Texas absolutely wants to make a move there. Now, Paxton, you could be right. You could be. And look, the Michigan defensive tackles are going to be, I think, the guys that everybody has their eye on when the portal opens up, Chad. Because when the turnover with Harbaugh happened at Michigan, it was too late for those guys to really do anything. Suddenly it's February and you can't visit schools. You're already registered and they're probably like 3 weeks into classes at Michigan. And then, what are you going to do? Start taking visits, not go to class, fall behind in class. They've had the entire offseason now to think about what they want to do. Schools have had a chance to potentially get their NIL situations and their ducks in a row so that should those guys enter the portal, any school around the country could say, half, Eddie. No, I'm just kidding. Talk about dated references. There's like some 45 to 55-year-old guys that are like, I know that Eddie Murphy stand-up routine. If you're a kid and you haven't watched Eddie Murphy Raw, it's not too late. And I'm talking to you, if you're out there.
Depends on how old you are and who your parents are, kids. Be careful.
I saw that that came out in 89?
Maybe
So I saw that when I was 13.
Yeah. No.
My mom, I was out wilding on these streets watching comedy shows.
I just remember my mom's reaction when she walked in on me watching Delirious. So I was real careful about where and how I watched Raw. I'll never forget that.
I had the old Eddie Murphy tapes,
Mm-hmm.
not Delirious, not Raw, but like his comedy routine on a tape cassette.
Right.
Where he talked about washing his private parts in the sink after putting cologne on them.
Right. Gotcha.
Anyway, just look it up, kids. It's out there on the internet somewhere, I'm sure. So I think the defensive tackle conversation in the portal is going to continue. But so here's what we know, I think. If Texas felt like they needed a body, I think Philip Bleedy would be a guy that they've offered.
Mm-hmm.
He's a kid that I think they know they could get.
Yeah.
Now, he only has 1 year of eligibility remaining. So he really has to make sure he picks a spot where he thinks he would start. So maybe it wouldn't be Texas because Texas does appear to be playing Alfred Collins at nose tackle. So who's replacing Alfred Collins? I don't know, but it didn't need to be somebody who's really good. I think when you look at that 3 tech, that's where I think they really need improvement. That's where when we say things like Vernon Broughton, it would behoove you to play your best brand of football over the course of these last 10 workouts so that they don't go to the portal thinking we got to have anybody and everybody and just any warm body will do. They seem to be showing restraint and seem to be saving a spot for somebody that they think would be more of a difference maker. And look, the way the market has established itself for Philip Bleedy, look at think about it. OU, A&M, LSU, they're all like, yes, please. Please, Auburn. The way I understand his recruitment, it's Arizona, Oklahoma, and Washington are all getting official visits. Auburn, LSU, and A&M have all offered and are trying to get an official visit. Look, everybody's thirsty for interior defensive line help. I'm kind of surprised that the Aggies are on that list because it's the area of that team I kind of instinctively have the most positive things to say. Like, I know how well they've recruited. Did they lose a little bit up front? Well, yeah, like that did happen. They have thrown their hat into the ring with him. I think is a real indication of like so few quality starting level interior defensive linemen ever hit the portal. I mean, think about it, Chad. Pop quiz. Other than the guy you guys lost, we're not going to talk about him, okay? Or the other guy that went to Alabama. But how many defensive tackles entered the portal that we even talked about in December and January?
Right. I mean, it's a small handful.
I mean, if they existed, you would have thought that Texas would have been all over it. And that just hasn't happened. There's not even, I mean, there's the guy that left A&M, like we get it. But other than that guy, name rhymes with Smalt or Smolin, there hasn't been a lot that's out there, which is what Bleedy enters the market. It's like, hey, a starting level defensive tackle's in there, and everybody starts acting, right? I mean, I'm counting 4 SEC schools right there just between OU, Auburn, LSU, and A&M, and those aren't all. That's not Vanderbilt. So it gives you an idea of like how precious of a commodity a starting level defensive tackle entering the portal is, and that Texas hasn't acted there when there's connections to be had. I think maybe Paxton's right. Maybe they do know something. It's either that or Sark has become super picky when it comes to guys in the portal. And just because he has a need, wide receiver in December, remember when Deuce Wells and a number of these guys entered the portal, they were maybe going to Oklahoma, maybe they're going here. And Texas didn't flinch. They were rumored to be interested in those guys, but the thing I kept hearing was, look, they don't like those guys as much as some other names they're hoping enter the portal. The moment Matthew Golden hit the portal, it was like, well, Texas likes him. And they did. And he was a Longhorn very quickly after entering the portal. But then they waited. They waited to see what Isaiah Bond did. They waited to see if Barian Brown was finally going to enter the portal after 2 years of having people close to him tell anybody that would listen, oh, he's going to enter the portal. And then Barian Brown just never enters the portal. And now, I mean, I think we can stop having the Barian Brown conversation because he's got one more season at Kentucky. And then I got to think that guy's off to the NFL. So at least we can put to bed the whole Barian Brown thing after 2 years. But yeah, I wish I could wink into the camera and tell you with a wink, oh yeah, Michigan guys, just wait. I can't. I don't know that for a fact. I don't think anybody really does, but I think Texas is hopeful, and maybe that's as good a sign as anything else.
Thanks to everybody who's jumped into the Specs chat. Damn near 600 folks in there. Let's take a breath and let Specs tell you what they've got. Oh, and we've got a super chat as well to get to. I guess we do that. $4.99.
No. Let's do Specs.
All right, we'll do Specs.
And then when we come back, we got the super chat.
Shook ones, $4.99. Waiting on. We've never had both at the same time. I didn't know what the hell to do. Lisa.
You're needing Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
There you go. All right, now, super chat. Shook ones, we appreciate you. And like we always say, throw us a super chat. Goes right to the top of the list. $4.99. Starting to get Keelan Russell FOMO. You think Sark/Mill we are too? Will offering him run off Lacey. He's pretty damn impressive. So Keelan Russell, the quarterback from Duncanville, is who we're talking about here, Catch.
Well, hold on. I'm not even going to ask. What does FOMO mean? Fear of missing out.
Wow. The fact that I knew that and you didn't makes me feel a lot of things. But yeah.
Well, because I was going to fuck around and find out, which is a different, like you get these.
That's FAFO.
It's pretty close.
Yeah. FAFO is that.
Yes.
This would be your FOMO. Yeah.
Fear of missing out.
That's right.
There's a lot of buzz there. Look. Will offering him run off KJ Lacey? I mean, offering? Probably not. There's been a lot of buzz that Texas might take 2 quarterbacks in this recruiting class. If you think about it from a numbers standpoint, if Ewers is gone, next year you'd have Arch, Trey Owens, and then whatever comes in this recruiting class. They're going to get by with 3 this year. I think you'd probably like to have 4. So I think that makes sense. I like Keelan Russell. For me, he's my favorite in-state quarterback in the state of Texas. I haven't yet felt that he's a nationally elite of the elite prospect. That's the ranking that KJ Lacey has. Look, it's just us, right? It's me, it's you, it's the 618 people watching on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, those types of things.
As far as I know, that's it.
We can just between us.
Yeah.
I don't think KJ Lacey's like a 5-star. I personally don't think he's that. I don't think he's Arch Manning. I don't think he's Quinn Ewers. I don't know that I think he's a super blue chip. That's me having watched a couple of games. When he went to the Austin Elite 11 camp 2 weekends ago, he was good, but it wasn't. So, look, that's just my way of saying, while I don't think Keelan Russell is elite of the elite at the national level, I also don't know that I think that about KJ Lacey. I think he's really good, but I don't know that I'm like Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs on him, or cuckoo. Is it cuckoo or Cocoa?
It'd be cuckoo to start with. You can't be Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs. They're Cocoa Puffs. You got to be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Cuckoo. I don't know that I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Right. Start with the insanity, then get to the flavor. You got to be insane about the flavor. That's what it is.
That's why I asked. I knew you would know.
I always love that spokesperson. Just the most insane spokesperson you could think of. And thank God he was cuckoo for that. Because if he'd been cuckoo for other things, he would have been in jail his entire life. Right? Like, what if he'd been cuckoo for breaking into McDonald's and trying to steal all the lettuce late at night? Then he'd have been in jail his whole life.
Instead, he's just a celebrity.
Yeah,
he's an influencer in 2024.
Exactly.
But look, shook ones, keep an eye on the Keelan Russell deal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll talk about this more on the recruiting hour. I haven't even gotten that far yet, but we got that later on today. We'll be talking a lot about DeCorian Moore on the show later today at 4:00 Central. I think the quarterback situation for Texas in 2025 is a continuing to evolve situation. But I think you have your finger on the pulse that Keelan Russell is a guy that would be in the mix and may end up in the mix, and that there could be a KJ Lacey kind of poop or get off the pot moment at some point. He visited Auburn again this weekend. He keeps saying the right thing, but don't tell me, show me. And in the world where you'd like to see commitments with actions instead of words, he's still looking around.
Here's another chat in, says you can't underestimate the importance of Sark pulling a 4-star quarterback out of Alabama, sets the table for future recruiting in SEC country. It's kind of an interesting way to look at Lacey.
I disagree.
Does that timing to you matter, Catch, that they're headed into the SEC and he is a quarterback from Alabama? Like, does that,
no.
You think that factors in?
No. I would say you can't underestimate the importance of Sark pulling a 5-star quarterback out of Louisiana 2 years ago. That will impact future SEC recruiting in theory as much as anything. If we were talking about a defensive lineman or somebody of that ilk, maybe a little bit different. It doesn't hurt, right? But like, it also didn't truly help them in the recruitment of Ryan Williams. Like, that kid was playing footsie with Texas before the KJ Lacey commitment. He played footsie throughout the Texas recruitment, and then he just never took an official visit. It never quite got to that level. I know what Trey Day's saying, and I don't on a 1 to 10 scale, it's on the scale. I just don't know that it's higher than like a 3 or a 4.
Okay. Appreciate all those chats in the Specs chat, and good group of folks there today. One thing, Catch, I don't know if we've covered in the time that you were off a little bit, as you said, a little administrative, and then you got the flu as well. I found out about one of the strangest Easter traditions that I've ever heard of, and we got a follow-up on it today. Squarehead says, wifey found all the little Deep Eddy, Chad. So apparently, Catch, one of our viewers hides a bunch of Deep Eddy vodka for his wife to find, and then she hunts down the vodka bottles. That's the way it works. And I would tell them, if they want to go hunting down some Deep Eddy vodka bottles, they got them out at the Deep Eddy vodka tasting room. You can go buy some vodka out there. You can get the cocktails. You can slow sip some flights of vodka. They got the great barbecue right there from Crimson Creek Smokehouse. It's a good time with this great spring weather. Make your plans to get out there. Thursday through Sunday is when they're open, 11 to 7 Thursdays and Fridays. Saturday is 11 to 5, 12 to 5 on Sunday. The Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room. However you enjoy your Deep Eddy Vodka, Easter or otherwise, we appreciate you. And they'll appreciate you out at the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room.
Am I allowed to say something slightly inappropriate?
Well, I don't know if we're ever allowed, but we do. So go ahead.
So if I'm to understand the Easter tradition clearly, sample bottles like around the yard?
Today was the first time it was referenced as little bottles. My interpretation all this time has been full-size Deep Eddy vodka bottle. But Catch, if it's going to be likened to an egg hunt, then yes, that would make sense that you'd go with smaller bottles. Yes.
Okay. Well, look. Just a thought. If it was the sample bottles, I'd probably hide one inside my shorts.
Oh, dear God.
Because look, if a woman wants that Deep Eddy vodka so bad that she'll go Easter egg hunting for it, she'll go into your pants for it.
Wow. Okay. I had not journeyed into the more personal side of the tradition. I really hadn't.
I'm a man of the people, and I'm trying to help.
I really hadn't done that. Speaking of trying to help, how about Buck Wild? Buck Wild, we hope you're doing well out there. Shout out to all the truckers. Super chat, $10. Continuing my Just for Fun series, the Texas defense had 16 interceptions last year, led by Taft. Let me recheck that. Yes, walk on Taft with 3. Over under 19.5 next season. And who leads for interceptions?
Okay, first of all, your trucker horn.
You didn't enjoy it?
Well, I always enjoy when you go for it.
It was it did have a little roughness to it. It didn't have enough
boat.
It didn't have enough resonance. Let me try again. Was that better? Maybe a little.
It was more trucker than the other one was like it just had more of a tugboat sound.
Boat coming through the fog.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Buck Wild. Let me see if I can. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed here.
Yeah.
First of all, Michael Taft is on scholarship now. Put some respect on that young man's name.
Yeah, Buck Wild.
On top of that, he's on scholarship now during an era where you could just keep walk-ons as walk-ons forever and give them NIL money, a la Burt Auburn. Oh, my God, if I get one more, you mean to tell me that Burt Auburn's not on scholarship? What's a man? It's okay, guys. They hook him up with NIL deals. He stays on scholarship, never impacts the 85-man number. It works out awesome for everybody. But they put Taft on scholarship when they didn't have to, which I think is a reflection of how good they think he is. So put some respect on Michael Taft's name. Second of all, over and under 19.5 next season, I'll take the over. I'm not going to go crazy and go like 25. But if they had 16 a year ago, that's 16 and 14 games. That's not good enough. So I'll say they go above 19.5. And if you're asking me who I think leads in interceptions, I'll go Jahdae Barron.
I was thinking of Barron as well. Yeah.
I'll go Jahdae Barron. We know that teams like to throw the ball at Terrence Brooks, so I think he'd be my number 2. I'd go with Makuba, but he hasn't been like an interception provider at Clemson. So it'd be a real leap of faith to suggest that he becomes a playmaker at safety in a way that he's never been before. But keep an eye on Derek Williams. He's now a sophomore. And if I told you that he had 5 interceptions next year, I don't think anybody would completely blink. Like he's a guy that people think are going to end up being a big-time NFL player down the road. You know, the best way to become a big-time NFL player down the road is to become a big time college player right now. So that's one that I also think I don't want to completely. You know what? I changed my mind.
Uh-oh.
You can do Jahdae Barrett if you want to. I'll go Derek Williams. Derek Williams with 5.
Derek Williams. All right, there you go. Buck Wild, we appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody who jumped in to the chat. And Catch, since we started with Colin Simmons, somebody threw us a chat earlier that I marked about Simmons. LJ says, once Simmons has a long break before fall practice to continue getting stronger, that's when you'll see him truly turn a corner. His long arms is an equalizer for him not being as tall. When you think, Catch, about, we've discussed all the different combos here, but when you think about the world of Ethan Burke, Barron Sorrell, Trey Moore, Colin Simmons, right now, 5 practices in or so, how do you think Sark would explain the rotation to us? How do you think he would explain his perfect version of how to unlock those 4 guys?
Well, I don't think he would. But if we
I know
kidnapped him and gave him truth serum,
we could convince him. It would be truth serum Sark. He'd lighten up and he'd tell us everything we want.
I forgot about truth serum Sark.
It's truth serum Sark. That's what I want. It's truth serum Sark, ironically on April Fool's Day, where he'll give us the truth.
I need to go find the hat. That's when it becomes official.
Yeah.
I think they're still figuring it out all the way through. Like, I think, they've only, even though they've been really impressed, they've only seen Trey Moore 5 practices. And so I think they're tinkering with it. I think this is a conversation for August.
Okay.
Because we'll get to August and Colin Simmons will have 3 and 4 times as many practices as he's had so far. That's the thing. I can't remember who we were having the conversation about last week. It might have been Colin, but I don't think it was. When I said, look, at this point, he's been through 4 practices. By the time we get to depth chart time in late August, he'll have gone through 26 more official practices, not including everything that they do during the summer, 7-on-7 workouts, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's true of Simmons as well. The numbers just changed by 1. He still has 25 more practices to go. He's been through 5. Chad, pop quiz. How many more times is 25 than 5?
I believe it's half a 10. I think it's 5.
You are correct, sir.
Yes.
So he's going to have 5 times more practices. And I think, look, LJ says he'll have the long break before the fall. He's going to continue to get stronger. He's going to continue to bet in and get comfortable. I totally agree, LJ. So we gave you the update on Simmons today because I didn't want people watching the show wondering, how come they're not talking about Colin Simmons? What's going on with Colin Simmons? Is he injured? No. It's 5 practices. I think that he hasn't yet shown us that we need to be having SEC freshman defensive player of the year discussions. But that could still happen.
Thank you for that, LJ. A lot of good folks in the Specs chat, up over 700 right now. Catch, this one was on a different position, but somebody threw it in here. Who will be the best player for Texas when their career is done, Williams or Filsaime at safety?
What the hell? Filsaime. I don't know.
Yeah, right. That sounds like that's a first world safety kind of problem right there. Because they both feel like they'll be pretty damn good by the time they're finished.
I feel like it's a little bit like, who do you think is going to have a better career, Quinn Ewers or Arch Manning? It's like, well, I don't know. It could go either way. They're both 5. Ewers already has a Big 12 championship ring, like, that he can proclaim. He was a Big 12 championship game MVP, and yet, he's got this season, but wouldn't shock me if the answer ended up being Arch either. So first world wealthy people problems.
Yeah, no doubt. Catch said Filsaime. I'll say Williams, Vivek, but both those guys are going to be really,
I said
really
that.
good.
55 seconds after I said I thought Williams would lead the team in interceptions with 5. So
right, exactly. They should be really good there for a while. Thanks to everybody in the chat, and we got buy or sell coming. Before we get done with the show, real quick, let me tell you about sinus and snoring specialists. I mentioned going to this 1-year-old's birthday party over the weekend and seeing the big TV that I was a little jealous of. We also, because you're going to visit somebody, we were in a bed we'd never been in before. And they had a badass guest room, but the badass guest room sucks if you're snoring or somebody else is snoring. And it's not a good time. But my wife and I are both sleeping really well right now because of sinus and snoring specialists. My wife packed up her CPAP stuff. She doesn't go anywhere without it now. She was sleeping great. I was sleeping great. And we had a wonderful, restful sleep like we're supposed to have. If you're not having that right now, sinus and snoring specialist is your place. Make it your, spring cleaning. As you're spring cleaning the house, make it your promise to yourself that you're going to get things cleaned out there as well. I had to do it because I was all clogged up and everything. They'll get rid of allergies. They'll deal with the snoring, all that stuff you've been going through. Don't let it get worse. Let it get taken care of at Sinus and Snoring Specialist. SinusSnoringENT.com, or you can go 512-601-0303 and be sure to tell them that you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live. Sinus and Snoring Specialist. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. All right, Catch, before we hit buy or sell, anything else we need to get to?
I got one thing for you.
Okie doke.
The problem is it's April Fool's Day, so what I'm about to read you, I don't know if it's true, but this got retweeted on my Twitter timeline. Mm-hmm. It's pre-April Fool's, okay?
All right.
This is from UFC Right Now.
Oh, Lord.
And it involves Patty the Batty.
Okay.
Patty Pimblett says that if Khabib comes out of retirement and beats him, he will convert to Islam and change his name to Paddy Al-Batty.
I think you and I both are. I don't know if we're even allowed to laugh at that in 2024, but that's funny.
It is funny. It sounds like something that might be said. There's so many blurred lines there that I literally don't know if that was just made for a laugh or Patty could have actually have said that.
I'm guessing that was constructed and sent out when it was midnight in somebody's time zone, so it was officially an April Fool's somewhere. Like it's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's April Fool's somewhere. I think that's what they did.
I love that Khabib is like such a big deal that like that, the loser loses his hair match. Loser loses his religion match. It's a fascinating concept.
Yeah, that is interesting. And as much as funny as that is, somebody might want to tell Patty that that's usually not how religion works.
Well, then there's that.
Catch, I will say, of all the weird pro wrestling stipulations I've ever heard, I don't ever remember that one, a conversion match. I don't ever remember we're going steel cage. If I win, I'll become Catholic. Or if you win, you become Catholic. If I win, I'll become. I don't ever remember that. Never.
How's the WWE never done that before?
Oh my God, that is so bad. Now I'm imagining like a Bible hanging over the ring for a ladder match. That's not going to happen. Never mind. The stairway to heaven match. The Bible is on top and you got to climb the anyway. All right. Never happened. It's never happened in the history of pro wrestling that I know of. But now they have an idea for next year's WrestleMania.
There you go. There you go.
Oh my God, that's
fantastic. No comment, but there you go.
There you go. As Catch mentioned, later this afternoon, we've got a recruiting show for you. The latest on DeCorian Moore. If you're a Longhorn fan, you're going to want to know the latest because there's some burnt orange in DeCorian Moore's future. We will explain that in the 4 o'clock hour. All right, Catch, you want to buy or sell here?
Yeah, I'll go first today.
Hit it.
I think I've asked like a slight version of this question before, but I'm going to go with it again anyway.
Okay.
As an Aggie, you would choose Connor Weigman over Arch Manning for the 2024 season alone if you had a choice.
I Sell. It'd be way too interesting of a story to go the other way. Sell.
Just for the selling newspapers part of it all, huh?
Take Arch Manning all day.
Fair enough.
All day.
Buy or sell number 2. Big game tonight. Caitlin Clark versus LSU is the biggest must-see TV game of the college postseason, men or women.
Yeah, it's a buy. I mean, we just had a rematch of the men's championship game, but it's not bigger than what's coming up tonight because right now the women's game has a little more, the careers are longer. You got a little more longevity. You can build star power a little bit better, and they have more star power right now, player to player, than the men's side does. And I think it's absolutely a buy. That's 6 o'clock tonight on ESPN, and I'm going to check it out.
I saw a stat in the last game where she had something like, Caitlin Clark had something like 62 or 63, 25, 5-5 games in her career.
Mm-hmm.
And the next closest active player was at 19.
Wow.
And I was like, God, she's really fun to watch.
She is.
And I will definitely be watching later on this evening. Buy or sell number 3. Eddie Reese is the best Texas coach in any sport of all time.
Man, that has got to be a buy. And Texas has had plenty of them. But if you go coach for coach, sport for sport, there have been a ton of great ones. Obviously, there have been Darryl's and there have been Gus's and there have been Max and there have been Jody's. But I think in the end, I think the dude clapping at the pool, the dude yelling into the pool, I think he's the one. Yes, bye.
48 consecutive top 10 finishes.
Like in his prime, Bobby Bowden would have been like, well, how many? 40. We just did like 14 and 48, huh? Okay. Yeah. That's incredible.
I got finished watching Masters of the Air on Apple TV this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me want to ask, buy or sell number 4. You've seen Band of Brothers.
Ooh, that's a sell.
Ooh.
That is a sell. Band of Brothers, correct me if I'm wrong. Band of Brothers is an HBO series made back in the day about World War II.
Spielberg Hanks
Yes.
collaboration.
Tom
as
Hanks
is Masters of the Air.
Oh, I see. Okay, I got you. That's why you're connecting those two. No, I have not seen Band of Brothers. How much time do I have to devote to say I've seen Band of Brothers? We talking about seasons of stuff, or is it just like 5 parts, or what is it?
1 10-episode minis, like 1 10-episode series.
1 10-episode series. Okay, I can do that.
I've probably watched it 10 times.
Okay, I can do it. I hear it referenced all the time, but I'm not.
Fan-freaking-tastic. What's interesting about, among other things, Masters of the Air, is that it has Elvis is in it. The
Austin, what's his name?
Austin Butler.
Mm-hmm.
And he's such a heartthrob for chicks right now that I haven't completely jumped on the Austin Butler is awesome train.
Mm-hmm.
He pulls off an Aviator.
Oh, I could imagine. He's great.
Is
this
converted?
It's World War II as well?
Correct.
Okay. So he's got a whole bunch of girls out there finding out about World War II, and they never even knew they wanted to find out about World War II.
Bingo was his name-o. Yeah. Enjoyed it. It's not Masters of the Air. It's not Band of Brothers, but really, really good. I would recommend that wholly as well. And finally, buy or sell number 5. It's a game of Hotter Than, Chad.
Sweet.
And we're going 2024 hip-hop version of Hotter Than.
Okay.
Buy or sell. You think Doja Cat hotter than Nicki Minaj?
Oh, this is fantastic. This is well played here. I have reference points for both. I know what they both look like. I'm imagining both of them in my mind right now. And I'm going to go buy. I'm going to go Doja Cat. I'm going to go Doja Cat over Nicki Minaj. Now, who would I rather have go into an alley with me if I think I might die? That's Nicki. But flat out hotter than, I'm going Doja Cat.
I'm with you on that.
Do you agree? Yeah, she's beautiful. Oh my God. There are some knockout females right now in that world. I mean, just like breathtakingly good looking and talented as well. They're bringing all of it, but man, are there some good looking women in the hip hop world right now. All right. Buy or sell time, Catch.
If I said Taylor Swift, you still going? Are you sticking? Are you Tay-Tay?
I would say if you went Taylor and Doja Cat, I still go Doja Cat.
I did, and I thought, you know what, he's going to go Tay-Tay, and
no,
that's when I went to Nicki because they're more,
no,
apple to apple in the same game, so to speak.
Because that would be a great example of why it's called Hotter Than. Hotter Than changes the game a little bit.
I should have stuck with Taylor. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Buy or sell. Let's have it.
Yeah. Now, after that, if my daughter sees this, she's not going to talk to me for a week, but that's a whole nother discussion. All right, let's start with basketball. Buy or sell number one, Catch. You want UConn and Purdue in the championship game next Monday. Forget about what will actually happen. It's what you want. If you could draw it up, this is what you want. I'll
go by. It's 1 seed versus 1 seed. Alabama and NC State, just meh. Like, I'd rather have seen Duke. No, I don't know that I want Duke to win. Like, I really am not anti or pro Duke. I used to love Duke when I was a kid, but I've kind of grown out of like caring about Duke. But they're more interesting than NC State. I don't know what to think of Alabama. So yeah, bye. Give me UConn and Purdue. And by the way, one of the questions I almost asked, I don't know that anybody warrants being mentioned in the same breath as UConn right now. That 30-0 run that they put up on Saturday has me feeling like we just need to shut up about these other teams.
Yep, you might be right. They've got that Florida and 07 feel. Like, I don't know what y'all are fighting for, but it's ours. Like, we're taking it. We're going back to back. And this is the first time somebody's been to the Final Four since then, trying to go back to back. So, yeah, good on them. UConn and Purdue. We had all that chalk built up to a certain point, and then somebody forgot to tell them you might not want to wash off the blackboard. All that chalk started falling off over the weekend, but we still got a little bit with UConn and Purdue. All right, speaking of, we'll get to the women's side, but first, Catch, football-wise, buy or sell number 2 of the guys that you said need to step up. You do think Vernon Broughton and Hayden Connor will do that. They will step up, both of them.
Sell.
Okay, fair enough. Check out Catch's 10 thoughts from the weekend, by the way, if you want to see that full list. Buy or sell number 3, Catch. You didn't watch a second of the UFL.
Something happened this weekend?
The Rock in his arms, the Rock in his tank top, that didn't get you going?
I saw on social media The Rock put a beat down on Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, that's not the UFL. That's a different discussion.
By the way, that was awesome. I saw a tweet of like a 3-year-old girl that was sobbing because she thought The Rock had killed Cody Rhodes.
Wow.
That's when you know you've done a good bit.
Oh, yeah.
In wrestling is when the kids think a guy's been murdered is usually, God, Rock has really gone in with this heel turn.
That's a great work when the 5-year-old goes to kindergarten. They killed Cody Rhodes. She's like she's like crossing herself, rest in peace. She wears black. What are you doing? Why are you guys not sad? Cody's dead. What are you doing? Yeah, it's a good angle. That's heat right there. They call that good heat, Catch. That's what that is.
I love that I turned your UFL question into a reset of the Rock and Cody Rhodes like thing on the way to WrestleMania.
Yeah, it tells me everything I need to know about your UFL focus right now. All right, buy or sell.
No seconds.
Yeah, buy or sell number 4. Tonight, you're rooting for Caitlin, but you're picking LSU.
Buy. Them girls at LSU can ball now. Like, they won the championship a year ago for a reason. Caitlin Clark is awesome. I don't know that her teammates are. And a little bit like watching NC State and Texas yesterday, and it felt like the athleticism between the team that won that game and the one that didn't were just miles different. That's the way I think. Caitlin Clark will look like the best play. She's going to put up 30 plus. She'll be awesome. but it wasn't enough a year ago where it just felt like LSU was just far more loaded as a team. I just feel like that's kind of what we'll see again in tonight's rematch.
6 o'clock tonight on ESPN, followed by UConn and USC. If you haven't seen the talented freshmen for USC and, of course, Paige Beckers in a while, they're all going to be playing tonight, so it'll be fun. Finally, catch buy or sell number 5 to wrestling. Today is Logan Paul's birthday. He has a triple threat match at WrestleMania, and you can name either of the 2 opponents.
Okay. So
let's see how much you're paying attention.
God, this goes back after SummerSlam. Logan was campaigning to the guy that's the GM of SmackDown that he was trying to avoid, seemingly. Gosh.
Sounds like he's been watching a little bit.
I have, but like too much rogue product in my life.
Okay.
Who was it? God. Randy Orton.
Hey, got there. Well done. Well done. Well done. In fact, catch, it's Randy's birthday today as well. Randy Orton is 44 and Logan Paul is 29. So if anybody watches WrestleMania, make sure you understand that Randy is 15 years older than Logan Paul is when they get in the ring. The other guy is Kevin Owens, by the way.
I should have, but yes. I wouldn't have.
And the match is for Logan's U.S. Championship belt, believe it or not. He's the United States champion right now in the WWE.
I'm pretty proud of myself that I...
Very good. I am too.
Because it's been like a month since I had the scent of what was going on with that storyline. It feels like The Rock and the Cody Rhodes thing has been dominating. Rock's been cutting promos. Like, it's been kind of like in every week The Rock is out front and center. So look at me with a little WrestleMania knowledge.
Well done. Volleyball clap for wrestling knowledge. Catch, before we get out of here, I wanted to thank the viewers for supporting not only Orange Bloods Live, all the shows, but going and checking out the short videos. Because I have a 4-part series on House Divided and numbers and stats. 2 of those videos are up over 10,000 views right now, and the other 2 are over 4,000 views. So I want to thank everybody for checking them out. It's one of my favorite things to dig in and talk about. Catch and I have been talking about some of these crazy House Divided stats for a while. But Catch, I have a little additional something for you today before we're done, if you want some nerdy on your way out the door.
Bring it.
Okay. So when we talk about the stat that you love so much and I love so much, they've never been back-to-back 9-win seasons at the same time. But here's what we've never talked about. Texas and Texas A&M, 9 wins at the same time. Only 7 times has it happened, ever. Just think about that for a second. Only 7 seasons have they both won 9 at the same time. So that means the stat we talk about could have only occurred 7 different times. That's it. 2 of the times it was possible, neither team got to 9. And there are 5 other instances where it didn't happen, but it got kind of close. And here they are. Texas won 5 games in 76. Texas won 5 games in 91. A&M won 7 games in 07. And the only 2 that got close, that got within a game, the Aggies won 8 games in 99, the year of the bonfire game. And Texas won 8 games in 2013, Mac's last year. Had they beaten Baylor and Waco, or had they won the bowl game, it would have been, the stat would have been over. And had A&M found one more win in the bonfire season, which, by the way, they had a close loss in Lubbock, and then they got trashed in their other losses. So it wasn't that close. But Catch, that's how crazy the stat continues to be. It's only been possible for the stat to end twice, ever. Think about that for a second. And then y'all go watch those short videos that I put together, and our man Tyler put together some great graphics and stuff. When you look at other in-state rivals and what they've done compared to what the House Divided has done, it's flat pathetic that these 2 teams haven't figured it out. And by the way, by the end of it, as an Aggie, I do take more of the blame on the Aggie side because math would tell you to take more of the blame on the Aggie side, but it is still one of the weirdest stats ever. So there you go, Catch. Even more on the dumbass stat that we can't get away from. They've only had a chance to do it and won 8 games twice ever. Once each
I'm
side.
really proud that Matt pulled that off. Like, now that I know he didn't get it in 2013,
Right.
I'm kind of proud that because he kept it alive.
He did keep it alive. He kept it. You know what else kept it alive? As I point out in one of these videos, Catch, he won 9 games in a row, 12 straight years. 12. That's 11 straight back-to-backs, and my Aggies could not find 2 in a row anywhere in that time period. Like, that's sad. That's where you got to look at little brother and say, yo, here's the rope. Pull. Please.
It's shocking.
It really is.
Every time we talk about it, it's never ceases to be shocking.
It is crazy. But thank you to everybody who's checked it out. If you want to go check those out, a little primer for, the season coming up, a 4-part look at the House Divided, some of my favorite, wild stats like that. And just kind of some of the number breakdown. So just want to thank everybody for that. All right. Again, we'll get you a recruiting hour later today. The Decorian Moore update, badass receiver from Duncanville. He is a hard commit from what I'm reading today to LSU, but he's got plans that involve some burnt orange coming up. We will tell you about that in the 4 o'clock hour. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and getting your notifications. We got damn near 800 folks in the Specs chat as we get ready to wrap it up. Thanks to all of our great partners out there, and thanks to you for jumping in the chat. Y'all have a good rest of your Monday. Until tomorrow at high noon, we are House Divided.